Yesterday, the Tour de France was only partially defeated by the weather. The cols, Iseron and Galibier, beaten by snow and high winds, were taken out of the route as the riders went over the top in cars. But when the race did start, just 46 kilometres from the finish, it was outstanding, as Bjarne Riis burnt up the remaining mountains at an average speed of 39 kilometres an hour. He takes the overall lead, but as the riders went to bed in Italy last night, they could be forgiven for wondering what will the weather do next. And at last the sun has discovered the Tour de France at the town which boasts 300 days a year of sunshine here in Gap. And as the riders make their way from Italy, there's no doubt who these people are going to support when Bjarne Riis comes into the finish. The race is 209 kilometres today, coming out of Turin down to Gap over the mountains. And we left Gary Imlach back at the start in Turin.
Well, Phil, not that you'd know it from the anonymous business park that's been chosen for the stage start, but Turin's quite an attractive city. The chief attraction for the riders, of course, being that it's warm and dry. But somehow I think the Tour's coming here has less to do with Turin's charms than with its chief industry. Forget architecture and historic monuments. In Turin, the car is the star attraction, and illegal parking apparently the main pastime. Cyclists are tolerated, but this being Italy, only as long as they break the law like good motorists. The source of all this car culture is Fabbrica Italia di Automobili Torino, otherwise known as Fiat, Turin's big employer, and also the official voiture du Tour. Now, I'm not suggesting that Fiat's chairman, Gianni Agnelli, offered the race organisers a detour they couldn't refuse, but he's certainly a man of influence. Since Fiat owns Lancia, Alfa Romeo and Ferrari too, the majority of Italians drive Agnelli. They also drink Agnelli, he owns Cinzano, and if they want to read about who he's bought this week for his football team Juventus, they can buy one of his 2 newspapers. About the only thing missing from Agnelli's portfolio is a cycling team, although just about everyone else in the country seems to have one. Italy is by far the strongest nation in world cycling, with 7 teams in this year's Tour, 8 if you count Seiko, who are registered in San Marino, and that's one more than exists in the whole of France. Of course, one of those teams, Gaywis, lost the yellow jersey coming into Italy yesterday. The fans here would love to see them get it back today, or at least mark the occasion with a stage win.
Well, for the Italian Gay Whiz team to get back on top, then Evgeny Berzin has to find 40 seconds to remove Bjarne Riis. Looking further down the overall classification, Miguel Indurain is now up to 8th, and he prefers the sun, so it could be a good day for him today. Chris Boardman is also finding his level, while Max Chandry waits for his chance of a stage win. The rollout this morning coming in Turin at 11:45. The Italians not finding success during the race's brief visit to Italy. And in the first sprint, the battle beginning between Eric Zabel of the Telecom team and Frédéric Moncassin, the leader of the race on points. Zabel getting the better of Moncassin, and the other Frenchman, Emmanuel Magnon, taking 3rd.
After a cool start to the day, the afternoon will be very clear and very sunny. A high of over 20 degrees Celsius for the first time, and a very low wind still coming from the southwest.
And on the climb of the Col de Montgenèvre, the first category climb which carries the race from Italy back into France, the abandonment of Laurent Jalabert, the rider who for 3 days has struggled through the Alps. He's lost almost 30 minutes in the overall classification, and the rider who won the green jersey last year, won a stage at Mende and also finished 4th overall, has decided to quit the Tour de France. So the leader of the Once, which was a complete team, are now down without their top man. And the passage over the top of the Montgenèvre climb, a breakaway having developed here. Richard Virenque getting over the top first, Piotr Ugromov getting 2nd, Jan Ullrich getting 3rd, and that's an important move there because Ullrich 5th overall and Virenque 7th, and so 2 men who are right up the overall classification are stealing a march of just over a minute and a half over the main field. And now they're on the way down, and at the same time, as we look at the descent, another man who crashed on the descent 2 days ago, Johan Bruneel, into that ravine, has also abandoned the race on the way up the Col de Montgenèvre. This race really is quite amazing. And as Bruneel retires, it is in fact his teammate now, Rolf Sorensen, who is trying to make it a nice end to the day for the Rabobank team. Looking for their 2nd stage win. Bogart, you may recall, won a stage down at Besançon. And just look at the speed of Rolf Sorensen here, 64 kilometers an hour. That's somewhere around 40 miles an hour. He is heading now for the last climb of the day, the Col de la Sentinelle, which is only a 3rd category climb, but we're told is quite a little nasty, and that comes with just 10 kilometers to go to the finish.
Well, Sorensen flying along here at the moment, and he's got two riders just 20 seconds behind him, Fincato and Ellie, trying to get onto terms with him. I feel that with still about 15 kilometers to go, it would be better if Sorensen actually sat up and waited for these riders, because the main field is flying along 52 seconds further back. He's in fact stretching out his lead at the moment, 35 seconds over the two chasers and 55 seconds over the main field, with two teams actually keeping up the pace, trying to pull him back. So he's doing an excellent job.
And here we have those two teams, the light blue of Evgeny Berzin's team and the pink of Bjarne Riis's team. They are driving that bunch along, and I find it hard to think that Sorensen will survive this chase down. He's just getting onto the lower slopes now of the Col de la Sentinelle.
There you can see the main field just about to pull back those two riders who are in no man's land there, Alberto Elli and in fact Fincato. It won't be long before they're caught, and I do feel that there'll be one or two counterattacks come on this climb, because it is a very steep, sharp climb up over the top round the back of Gap. And also, I also believe that Rolf Sorensen, if he can get over the top with a 20-second time gap, has a chance of staying away for victory, because it plunges straight down to the finish line.
Well, there's only one remaining now. Here come the telecoms, led by Christian Hen there. They've swept up Fincato and Ellie. And Hen didn't even look at them. He rode straight by them, stamping on the pedals now on the climb of the Col de la Sentinelle. They have decided to want this whole field together today, because they have their man Erik Zabel, the great sprinter. If Zabel wins the stage today, he will become the new leader on points in this race, and that will mean that the Telecom team will have the green as the leader on points and the yellow as the leader on time, and that's what they want today.
And in fact, Christian Hen has done his job there. He's swinging off and saying, OK, boys, I've brought you to the bottom of the climb. Now you have to take over. And as we go past the indication that the summit of the King of the Mountains is 3 kilometers away, Richard Virenque, the leader in that competition, moves to the front.
The roads around the back of Gap here are absolutely marvellous for cyclists who want to just come and have some fun. But they are narrow and they're very steep little climbs, and Sorensen has got one here.
He's having to fight all the time now. Sorensen realizes he must get to the top of this climb alone to have a chance of winning the stage. He's been away for a long time on the flat there, and as you look at the main group now, the impetus has actually gone out of the chase. The Telecom boys all across the road there, just trying to counter and make sure that nothing dangerous goes to put their man Bjarne Riis into difficulty. But this may well be a chance for Rolf Sorensen in front to open up a little bit more time gap.
As the attack start again now, this looks like a Seiko rider who's trying to sprint away from the front of the field.
A clever move there by the Telecom riders, not reacting to that. This is not a man who is dangerous to them in the overall standings. So what they must do is just let these smaller groups go clear, but watch out for the big riders like Richard Virenque. Laurent Brochard behind, I think, from Festina has reacted. He is trying to get across, a man who had a couple of crashes in the first week, but is also an ideal kind of rider for this tough terrain.
Well, the Seiko rider is either Simon Biaschi or Paolo Fornacchiari. They're the two riders who've been very active today. And in fact, it's going to be Massimilio Lelli who's gone clear. You can never get it right, Paul. Anyway, he's been joined at the front there by Laurent Brochard. And Lelli, who has latched on to the back. And you can see that this climb is quite a tough one. The riders have got themselves clear. Brochard and Lelli, again, not going to be too marked by the Telecom riders. No sign of Sorensen in front, who will shortly be going over the summit and starting his descent.
Well, he had an excellent time gap over there. Just the last check we had was still 55 seconds, but it's starting to fall a little bit now, down to 45 seconds over these two riders who are chasing in between. Now, Brochard is a very strong rider on these short climbs of 3 to 4 kilometers, and it may well be that they can peg back that lead of Rolf Sorensen. Sorensen has to get to the summit with a little gap of 20 to 25 seconds to have any chance of winning the stage.
And Brochard was the rider who, well, it's a week ago now, fell rather heavily on his head in that nasty crash when Jean Verade veered to the right in the finishing sprint. And Brochard was the rider who piled into him and went literally over the handlebars. Anyway, he's none the worse for it, as we see a lovely crowd here enjoying the sun and the clear blue skies today of the Tour de France. Can you believe the change from yesterday on the tops of the Col de Galibier and the Iseran? Brochard doing all of the work, and little Lely sitting here at the back as we go up to the leader now. That's the gap, 47 seconds back to those two. A little bit further back to the main field. Rolf Sorensen giving us what we've often seen him do before, a show of his strength when he goes for gold. He chooses his day and he looks for it, and today he may have read it right.
Well, he certainly went at the right time. He knew that that group he was in was very dangerous, having Luc Leblanc and Laurent Dufaux there, because the main field would not let them get too much of a lead. Those riders have got a threat in the overall standings. In fact, Brochard and Lely are just about to be caught by the main field here, and it's still the Telecom riders at the front doing the main work.
And Brochard going to ride away from Lely now. He's given Lely back as his offering to the peloton, and now he's going to try and go alone here. The field have climbed this little hill here so quickly today.
But Brochard was getting no help at all there from Lely, so he waited until the last possible moment, and then he decided he would try and go away alone, because he's got the force. You see this man is using a huge gear on this climb, but you know, he's opened up the gap almost immediately.
Up towards the summit now for Rolf, a winner of the Paris-Brussels Classic twice and Paris Tours. He won a stage in the Tour de France at Montpellier 2 years ago when he outsprinted Neil Stevens, and now he's trying to repeat it, and he doesn't want to outsprint anybody. Coming up towards the summit of this climb, the Col de la Sentinelle, and Rolf Sorensen has still got a nice lead over the field. That's where we are, the far right of our picture, just the descent down to the finish in gap, and he might well survive.
He may well survive, but in fact the referees are pushing all the cars by him there, so he hasn't got any service behind. They feel now that the main field is starting to pull back on that lead of Rolf Sorensen, so it's going to be very tight.
Now, is it the main field, or is it in fact Laurent Brochard? Because there up ahead is the red car of one of the race direction, and Brochard is flying up here.
Well, the last time gap coming up now, 22 seconds. In fact, Laurent Brochard is just behind, and the main field only 32 seconds further back. So it's really going to be a push to see if Sorensen can hold on to that lead over the top of this climb.
Rolf Sorensen just asking for the summit to come so he can get on with moving up to those big gears and racing down to the finish in gap. He has struggled all the way, but he made the right decision to shed those 14 riders when he made the move with them. And they went back to the main field, and now he's going on what he hopes will be to victory. He's having to keep this rhythm as high as he can and as steady as he can, but he's a classic winner over the years. In 1993, I think probably his best victory is when he won the Liège-Bastogne-Liège Classic in Belgium.
But this is turning into a man against man as he comes up to the sign that he's been looking for the last few minutes. 1 kilometre to go. In fact, Brochard has nailed him back to 17 seconds, and the main field 25 seconds further back.
Well, with 1 kilometre to go, there's a real chance that Laurent Brochard here, with all the cheers that will certainly be coming his way from the French crowds, may well latch on to Sorensen before the top of this climb. If they both get together, then if I were a betting man, I would say they will survive to the finish. Sorensen, if he came to a sprint, might still handle Brochard.
Most certainly, he's a very clever rider. He outwitted Neil Stevens last year when two years ago when the two of them were away for an awful long time, and he waited until the last possible moment when they went into Montpellier, and he outsprinted Stevens. So he does know how to handle a two-man sprint at the finish. But Brochard, over the last couple of years, has developed quite a good little sprint from those small groups.
Well, I know that Rolf's father, Jens, is following the Tour de France on and off. I wonder if he's chosen today to come down to Gap and just see if Rolf can win. It quite likely he has done so, because they have a house at nearby Avoriaz in the Alps, where I've no doubt he's been staying. And Rolf may well have told him last night that today he was going to have a go for it. He's off in the distance there, but the gap is coming down all of the time. Here he is, and there, just to remind him who the leader of the Tour is, the Danish flag flying right over the road here. And of course, again, we're being treated to a Dane on the attack in the closing kilometres of the stage of the Tour de France. There aren't many Danish professionals, but believe me, they're all good.
Most certainly are. This man Brochard, though, did an excellent move. But look, the main field have come up right behind him. The time gap to Brochard is 14 seconds, but looking further back down the road, the main field are right on his heels.
There's the banner for the top of the climb of the Col de la Sentinelle. 198 kilometres under the wheels, leaving 10 to go, just 6 miles down to the finish, and the 10-kilometre banner right on the line. And so we have over the top, first of all, we've got Rolf Sorensen. There's a sprint here for the points, and Richard Virenque is going to notch a few more points in the King of the Mountains competition. He will snatch third place. So 11 seconds the gap to the main field. Now the descent, and then it's all up for the finish. We'll take a break.
It's the mystery guest round on La Retro today. The name of the proud Porsche owner coming up. When the Tour came to Gap 10 years ago, Jean-Francois Bernard won the stage and a bit more. If he looks happy coming across the line, he has every reason to, because millionaire team owner Bernard Tapie had promised him a Porsche. And true to his word, Tapie coughed up, which is possibly one of the reasons he no longer sponsors a cycling team. Well, I don't know whether JFB still got the Porsche. I suppose, given Bernard Tapie's subsequent financial disgrace, there's an outside chance it might have been stolen. Anyway, further to our mention of Fiat at the top of the show, the riders may prefer the heat to the cold, but the same isn't true of the cars. And in fact, a few years back, after they'd taken over from Peugeot as the official race vehicle, 20 of them overheated going up Alpe d'Huez and had to abandon the race. Although our motoring correspondent Paul Sherwin tells me that they're now all fitted with override switches to make sure that the cooling system stays on at all times. All right, that's it from me for today. Back to the racing.
Well, thanks, Gary. Well, as far as I know, the Fiats are having a better day today, and they're all trying to keep up the race, but it has been a fast stage today, and the attack by Rolf Sorensen is still surviving. In fact, Richard Virenque took second place there under the banner, because literally meters from the line, they wiped out Laurent Brochard's attack. So there's only one man in front, and we're now watching the peloton descend at around about 70 kilometers an hour on the way down towards Gap.
Well, that time split there, 11 seconds over the top, may well not be enough, because Sorensen was away for such a long time. He might not have enough left to keep on to the finish, but you know, he can recuperate on the descent. But look at the speed the main field is going.
They're going very, very quickly now. It's Festina who are bringing them down here. And in fact, these descents on these very narrow roads just above Gap, they are narrow and they are quite sharp. The peloton must be very, very careful, and there is a chance that Sorensen will be able to descend a little bit more quickly than the riders in this big pack.
And the dangerous thing on a descent like this is you can see how the tar is starting to melt. It makes it very slippy around those corners. This looks to me very much like Laurent Dufaux, who's trying to get clear, and may well be that he wants to launch one of his own teammates, but the damage is being done at the back because, in fact, a lot of riders not willing to take the risks around these corners. Because we join Sorensen at the front. He's taking all the risks he can going around these corners just to try and go as fast as possible.
So Rolf Sorensen, his teammate Johan Brunel retires today. He was lying 18th overall. Sorensen trying to take the stage win. Only one team, by the way, is now complete in this year's Tour de France as we arrive at the rest day, and that is the Mapei team of Tony Rominger. And so that might mean a lot in the second full week of the race when we go down into the Pyrenees towards the end as well. Now the Telecom have got themselves organised again. They've got everybody online, as it were. And this is a nice bit of cornering here by Rolf Sorensen, but you can see just how tricky these bends are. Right knee kicked out to make sure he makes the bend safely.
But he is using an awful lot of the road. You see, he almost runs out there, which has caused him to lose a little bit of his impetus, and he won't really want that because a lot of these downhills on the roads in France include a little bit of uphill like this, which is what Rolf Sorensen has to do now. He has to get out of the saddle. He's hardly got any energy left at all now with the main field 12 seconds back. He won't dare to look back because he knows they won't be very far behind.
Well, he's 1 second more than he had when he came up over the mountain, and there's nobody helping Telecom. Bjorn Rees has got it nicely under control. In second place here, the rider doing the work there is Udo Bolts, the faithful lieutenant, who himself has finished 9th overall in the Tour de France. And now the Gaywiz team are putting in their moves as well. Well, the Gaywiz team have been using Bottario as their worker, and also David Perona, to try and bring back Sorensen. They've all been throwing in what they could, but Sorensen is defying them at the moment.
This looks a little bit like Bruno Cangialt, who's trying to jump clear here. He knows exactly the kind of man that Rolf Sorensen is because he raced with him for an awful lot on the Ariostia team a couple of years ago.
And there is Sorensen, and this is Cangialta. So the Italians couldn't win in Italy, but I wonder if they can win down here in Gap as they did the last time the race came to Gap with Lieti. And Lieti, by the way, the very next day was unable to start. He was knocked off by a car and his leg was broken. So now, coming down towards the finish, Sorensen is still in front, and the kilometres ticking off very quickly. Looks over now, will see his old teammate Bruno Kengialta after him at the 5-kilometre banner.
Well, it's going to be very tough. Kengialta, don't forget, was the man who crashed on that stage in 1993. In fact, when Rees was the man who went on to win the stage, they were coming up and one of the motorbikes turned off in front of him and he lost the stage. He'd love to get a stage victory here, and he knows that if he can get up to this man, Rolf Sorensen, that the chance is there that he could just stay in front of the main field, because we're less than 5 kilometres to go.
Well, what a great time trial and what a great pursuit this is. Sorensen now is going to be picked up certainly by Bruno Kengialta. Kengialta is on a ride here. He's a member of Gaywiz, which means that Evgeny Berzin's team will not chase now. There'll be no more help for the telecoms behind, but the telecoms know that by the finish they will still have the race leader of this tour as it comes to a rest day. But what they really wanted was this race to be together so that Eric Zabel hopefully would have taken out the bunch sprint and become the new leader of the race on points. Under the banner, 4 kilometres to go. Kengialta is nearly on, but very worried about the bunch behind.
But he keeps looking over his shoulder just to see how far behind they are. In fact, they're going under the banner at the same time. Sorensen has not given up. He's still got a little bit of energy left. He gets out of the saddle, forcing himself to stay clear as we go back to see what's happening in the main field.
Well, there's the long, thin line. They're almost all together. Sorensen is hanging out front, his bright orange jersey looking rather like a carrot now as they're all coming up to him, because Kengialta is nearly on. There's Sorensen over the top of that wall, by the way. You can see the city of Gap, and so too can these two now. But you know, although Kengialta was almost on, Paul, it's now he really can't cross the gap.
He can't bridge those last 20 or 30 metres. In fact, Sorensen has accelerated again there. He got over the top of that climb. He was suffering, and once he's got onto the downhill, he picks his speed up again to 30-40 miles an hour, and Kengialta, I think, now has blown it. He can't close the last few metres on Sorensen.
Well, this has been an amazing stretch of racing here, and I'm just wondering if Sorensen now is going to hold out here. That might have been the psychological move. Kengialta felt he was going to catch him, and now I think he realizes he can't. Just behind our camera is the whole field chasing down on Bruno Kengialta. There's still a chance. 3 kilometres to go into Gap.
Well, he's in the outskirts of Gap now. This man behind Kengialta just cannot bridge on Sorensen. He's trying everything. He's cutting the corners. The roads are completely closed, so the riders know they don't have to worry about anything coming the opposite way. But Sorensen now is riding like a man possessed. He's got everything to do. He's got to explode his body. He's got to feel his muscles about to shred, but he must keep going because he's given so much to this stage.
Into town, makes the right turn. He'll be lining up for the finish very shortly. A huge crowd welcomes the Tour de France back home here, and Gap is one of the most popular finishes in the Tour de France over the years. Greg LeMond has ridden well here, and so too has the great Dutchman Jelle Neidem. He won here a couple of years ago, 1989 I think it was. And now we've got, coming up to the line, Rolf Sorensen. He sees 2 kilometres to go. These are going to be a very long 2 kilometres.
Well, in fact, Bruno Kengialta just hasn't been able to. It looked as he shot out of the main field there as if he was going to ride straight across that gap to Sorensen. But once Sorensen got onto the downhill, he really recuperated very quickly, picked up his speed, and now he's in a little tuck position, gets out of the saddle, still fighting. 8 seconds is his gap at the moment over Bruno Kengialta and 10 seconds over the main field.
What a great tour the Danes are having. The race leader, the stage winner yesterday. Now he could well be having a #2 day for Denmark with victory here. Kengialta is swept up by the telecoms. They're ready to launch their man, Eric Zabel, at the finish. They may well not catch Sorensen, but they could still catch that green jersey of Moncassin. Sorensen still working at it, and very shortly now he will see the red triangle in the sky. 1 kilometre to go when he gets there.
Well, the last time he was looking for a kilometre banner was to take him to the top of that climb, and that is the one he's looking for now. Just 1 kilometre left to go to the finish. It looks very much like Alex Zuller is trying to jump clear here. He's trying to get a little bit of time on Bjarne Riis in the yellow jersey, but Riis now takes over. He's chasing down the Swiss rider, and all the time Sorensen fighting to stay alone in front. 5 seconds, I think, is the gap over the main field.
5 seconds inside 1,000 meters to the line, and Alex Zula, can you believe, he's trying to roar the whole lot of them off. Well, seconds, he wants minutes overall to take that jersey back from Bjarne Riis, but it will be a show of defiance. Alex Zula may well come back and recover after the rest day tomorrow. The long straight avenue of trees to the line now. Rolf Sorensen has got to just hang there and hope he can hold it, but when the field open up with all cylinders, it's unlikely he'll survive. And we're going to come up to 500 meters to go, and the sprint is beginning behind. They're almost on him now as they close in quickly. Sorensen is dying in midstream as the sprinters move up. That's Yekimov trying to move up on the left, trying to do something to slow them down. But watch out for Zabel. Zabel in the middle as he moves across to grab Yekimov's wheel, and they've gone through on the inside with Abdu Jafarov there. Now there's a lot of switching going on. Zabel didn't want to leave so soon. Abdu Jafarov has got his back wheel now, and it's going to be Eric Zabel who's going to get it. At the end of the day, Telecom are going to celebrate because Zabel will have the green, Riis will have the yellow. Eric Zabel gets his second stage win of the Tour. He got 2 last year and through on the inside, but he didn't get it. Abdu Jafarov failed right on the line. Eric Zabel gets the win, and that means that the Telecom team are in green and yellow tonight. What a finish. Just look at this. I thought Abdu had really got it just then, but he sat up for some reason, and Zabel took it on the line. What surprise Abdu's upset. And here comes the group with Chris Boorman on the front. He was tailed off on the long chase with about 20 kilometers to go, and Moncassin, the green jersey, is in this group as well, and he's lost that green jersey now. So Chris Boorman bringing this small group home, losing just over a minute today, and Chris will welcome the rest tomorrow here in Gap. So Eric Zabel gets his second win of the Tour. His other came at Nogent-sur-Oise. This time he beat Jamaluddin Abdu Jafarov and the Italian sprinter Andrea Ferragato. Chris Boorman led home the second group. He claimed 42nd place, 66 seconds behind. Max Schiandri came in almost 8 minutes back in 131st. And in fact today Schiandri called the Tour doctor. It seems he has a problem with his knee, and the doctor spent some time examining it. Well, the rest day tomorrow, let's hope it does it some good. And in Gap tonight, Eric Zabel takes the green jersey as the new points leader. The German Telecom team is having some tour. They've also got the overall race leader in Bjarne Riis, and in fact there was no change among the leading positions today. Chris Boorman and Max Schiandri, no stage wins for them yet, but they are still in this most difficult race. And Chris in fact climbed up to 34th, despite losing sight of the main field near the finish. This is what Chris had to say when he finished in the warm sunshine.
Very pleasant today for a change. Ironically enough, yesterday was the first day that we didn't have any rain, and we got it shortened down to 46k. But today was very difficult for me. Something wrong, I don't know what. I don't want to go on about it. If I'd got spat out on that first climb, it would have been really close with the split.
Well, Chris has tomorrow to recover, as does indeed Bjarne Riis, the strong leader of this tour, who is in yellow. And you can win a yellow jersey again this week if you correctly pick the winner of Sunday's stage from Best de Toul, a stage of 186 kilometers. You can telephone your selection to 0891 11 4400, and the race, by the way, is on an undulating course on Sunday. It might be a day for the sprinters again. And don't forget, you can also find us on the internet. Well, it was almost a routine day in the Tour de France today. The riders certainly have now well earned their rest day here in Gap. But there's no rest for us. We'll have a highlights program for you tomorrow night at 6:25, and we'll also bring you up to date with any developing news overnight. Until then, goodbye.